We're back again with part 3. So let me see. We were talking about being in a transformative tunnel with the eclipses that are going to happen. So a few things. So this there is some money that was unaccounted for, right? Somebody's overseas. People are overseas or are traveling, right? Absolutely clueless about this transformation happening, and that you began moving away from this scenario, or you were released from this position, right? The other perspective of this scenario is that there are some officials who are investigating the matter, like the justice systems involved here. Some money which was unaccounted for, or now is finally being looked at. Now is the time that you can look at it. Some expenses or some payables, some things that somebody was supposed to pay for, and there is something very obscure about it. Now is the time, like the wheel of fortune, something about a fortune, a sum of money, a collection of money. So when I had mentioned in part 1 of this series that you might have been born in a place which was heavily ridden with karmic souls, like unaccounted for karma, which has not been balanced out, and a lot of research was done on your soul's journey. So somebody might have gone through your Akashic records, right? And they observed you. They correctly planted, for instance, early childhood. So you might have had a good childhood. You might have had great childhood connections. You might have been let to live a little while. All the while, they were observing and experimenting on you. Okay. Not observations and trying to see something, like trying to see something about how you react, or how you absorb information. Your observational skills were being put to test. How you your functions as well, your bodily functions were being tested. There is something about that coming forward. The Chariot here with this a hot air balloon, okay, and the Star card here. This is a major reading, a major time frame for a lot of things to get rewritten from the past, right? So it might have started somewhere in Cancer season, and then Leo season, in Virgo season. I don't see Virgo, but we have Capricorn here. So, and there's something about round 3 as well in the transformation, the physical transformation. If you there was ignorance here. Everything was up in the air. when you were a child, in your childhood, it's like they didn't know better, so they were doing whatever they were doing out of ignorance, out of some sort of fear of this this entity, right? And when you grew up, when it was time for you to actually move forward, they got you stuck in this role. And at some point, we like we said, like 14 years ago, right? At some point, along that tunnel of 14 years, this past 14 years, it's like a lot of people had learned how to project to the world, that your energy, either by just something simple like speaking like you, dressing like you. They were actually taught to think like you, okay? To either be like you, take your place, replace you, your identity, etc., or to be your companion, or to like trick you, to deceive you into thinking like you're like they are the best match for you, okay? But where they made a mistake, a lot of money was invested in that, okay, training people to be a lot like you. So this could be anything from your hobbies, your extracurricular activities, or your style in general, the way you speak. So the plan was to see you fade away, keep you lost and confused in the material world aspects of things, right? In the material world aspects of things. But you created your own world, a world your own mark in the world since a very young age. So that was not that was a mistake that they made, and they knew that they shouldn't have invested that sort of money in grooming other people to take your place, right? In training other people to take over your identity, because you were here, you had made your mark in the world since a very, very young age, and continue to do so. We continue to do so, starseeds, light workers, even if there is not a lot of wealth attached to indigo children's names. They will outshine, like, because right now is the time for wherever, in whatever timeline starseeds are at, they are going to shine, especially in the 3D aspects of things. It's time right now, okay? They have done their duties, their spiritual duties, and now they're being released. They're being led towards calmer waters, towards shores, to places, to occupations, towards a situation, a 3D world situation and circumstance where they can actually feel safe, understood, and finally be taken care of, okay? It has already started energetically in Libra season, during the Virgo Libra cusp, possibly, or it started in right at the beginning of Libra season. It did so now it's like tomorrow we have an eclipse. Today is Friday the 13th. You have the death card here, right? So a massive shift with the Tower card, as well. It's completely destroying this old timeline where karmic souls were the predominant connections in your life. They were running the show, as in they had set up the stage for you to perform, right? It was their setup. Now their setup is being completely destroyed and detonated because it's unsustainable. It's just run its course, let's just say, and there is unaccounted money for. I also mentioned that there was a big chunk of karmic souls that needed to be terminated. It's over for them. It's done because they are very, very heavily ridden with karma. So in accounting, audit and accounting, the auditor basically determines when this portion of the expenses, and then there are standards, there are laws to do that. These portion of your income, right, can be written off in your income statement as losses, because you know that you're not going to receive that money. It could be that, you know, somebody who owes you money, right? It's either that they have run out of business, or they can't pay you, they are bankrupt, or they have disappeared, or they're just refusing to pay the money. So after a certain amount of time, you are supposed to record it as a loss, right? Loss. So we are recording some sort of a loss here. It's done, it's over, and that is what is charging up. So after that judgment, right, after that judgment, that just judgment, these karmic souls are now a bad debt, and they're going to have to be written off, which just means that these people will no longer be a part of your life. You're never going to ever come across them. If after this solstice, after the winter solstice, it's going. I have a very strong feeling. After the winter solstice is going to be during Capricorn season, that around that time, you know, the wheel of fortune, it's turning. Tower change, complete change. Something gets destroyed and something else takes its place. Since they're coming in together, that means it's going to be a complete change all over into what we knew before. When we come to Aquarius season, you will have already received the codes that were lingering somewhere up there in the skies, the instructions of how you're going to have to build this cornucopia happily ever after. At that point, we will have no clue whatsoever what is happening with these karmic people and their life. Okay, so if they were in any way, shape, or form connected to you, you're going to be completely unaware of their existence. This has already possibly happened to you as an example with major connections, especially probably romantic connections before. And if you have a divine counterpart, you might they might have been told that their divine counterpart has departed. Okay, it's like they're no more, but that was fake news. There's a lot of fake news being fed to your divine counterpart. Okay, if you were not the divine counterpart performing these duties. Something happened also about 3 years ago. Something happened, okay, and there was like a polar shift where your divine counterpart was suddenly finding themselves in this consciously aware of this role that you have been playing, and there was an information sort of download, the combination of the star and the tower, the information download, okay. Since you had gone into healing mode, you were healing the subliminal frequencies that were shoved into your subconscious, 14 years ago. You had begun healing. The star card is also healing. You had begun healing. Something happened in the skies, I think 3 years ago. 3 of Wands. You were waiting patiently, right? And the 3 of Pentacles here as well. Something happened about 3 years ago, so that will be 2020. Okay, something happened about 3 years ago that set this in motion. Okay, the polarities were switched, and you started seeing things from their perspective, being stuck with a bunch of karmic souls. And at that point, it became very difficult for people to differentiate between you and your divine counterpart. Okay, even if you physically looked extremely extremely different. It's like energetically you were the same. So your set of people might have started feeling like you've become a complete stranger to them, as at the same time they might have realized that you know a lot about. So if you are the divine counterpart who is in the first and last lifetime with like zero awareness of karma, that is why you were put in this position to learn. Okay, that's why we were put in this position to learn about what karma is, right? When this entity exited, sure it was a plot, but it was divinely guided. It was the plan. It was the divine plan that you had. This is how you had to learn about karma. So for the past 14 years you've been learning that, and minus 3 years ago, minus 3 years, so that is 11 years you were doing this all by yourself, lost and confused, meeting all of these people and being rejected by them, and not knowing how all the while you were doing your own work. Okay, you were doing your own work completely separate from this. And suddenly at the polar shift, you had this information download, and you were like, why do I know so much? Why do I know so much about all of these people, about their business? You might have related it to your own experiences or ability to study, gather knowledge. Well, like me, I studied chartered accountancy. I've passed all the papers as well, and I worked as an auditor. So I thought that, okay, this is why I can tell, but it is because of my divine counterpart now that I am aware of this journey, right? Actually consciously, in the practical sense, aware of this journey. Okay, the details are still short, they're still blurry. Since I'm an auditor, I would actually require evidence to be able to say that I know everything. I would have to go through all of those statements, which I know at some point will happen. I'm not too keen on, pushing it or pulling it faster. None of that, right? The details are coming in. So it might have, like me, felt for the last 3 years is because of your only because of your intelligence, your ability to know these things is why you know this. But no, it's like quantum entanglement. You're transferred that chunk of knowledge of 14 years. In these last 3 years, it's like they have been feeling that a lot of people have reminded them of someone that they were very close to in their childhood, one of their exes, your divine counterpart, and they might have mentioned this to you, and you're like, oh, okay, your such and such person doesn't seem anything like your ex or this person that you are mentioning. Like, there is literally no comparison. I mean, nothing in common, right? So it was like these karmic souls who were practicing some sort of energy projection or suggestions, like, they were sending out subliminal suggestions, or they might be gathering together and like karmic souls sort of work in a very large group. It's like a hive, and trust me, on this timeline they have been here incarnating here and reincarnating here since the beginning of this timeline, and now it's come to the end. They did not know that it was the end, but you had stepped in here with the knowledge of it being the end, and your divine counterpart was waiting for you to come forward in the physical to know that it's the end of this karmic timeline. They had also been, they were a divine soul they were a starseed divine soul reincarnating lifetime after lifetime in this karmic plane of existence, very heavily written karmic plane of existence, waiting for our arrival. And somewhere 14 years ago, they were told that you had died. So they just assumed that, okay, definitely that was not my divine counterpart. So this is not this lifetime, okay, that it's this karmic plane is going to come to an end. And then 3 years ago, suddenly they're like, no, but why do I feel their energy? Why do I feel the divine? So it just, they couldn't hide anymore. So they started projecting connections that your divine counterpart had lost. So they started mimicking, imitating, copying not only your energy, but the energy of the people that they have been connected to in their childhood, right? In their childhood, in their early ages, the person that they first dated, we were in the first relationship, etc. Correct? So there is some sort of imitation projection game that is coming forward. I'm getting that from this card, the combination of the devil and the sun card. So the sun is of happiness, childhood joy. So this, and the devil energies of deception, and it speaks about a set of karmic souls, or karmic patterns, karmic behaviors. So lifetime after lifetime, your divine counterpart have been connecting with these souls, and these set of souls, karmic souls, one karmic soul in particular, they had been connecting, and they walked hand in hand all throughout their life, a past lifetime. This can be platonic, okay? So it doesn't have to be romantic at all. And they lived the same pattern. But this lifetime, you changed the game. Us entering their life in the physical, just presenting ourselves to them, was enough for them to know that it's over. But neither did neither do we know, neither do they know how this is going to happen, because it's a complete unknown. We've been sent into complete unknown territories, unknowable territories. It's never happened before, okay? It's not happened. It's extremely rare. If it has ever happened before, it was a glitch, and the results are going to be completely different of what had happened in that same scenario before, somewhere on another timeline, which was heavily ridden by karmic souls, okay, versus what's going to happen here, because those circumstances were completely different. I'm sensing that there were a set of timelines which were heavily ridden by karmic souls, but they were very, very aware, and they were like the typical Capricorn traits. You know, the devil card is Capricorn. They were very disciplined. Their money was absolutely lucrative, picture perfect, okay? So there was none of this unaccounted for money business, okay? But this time around, there's unaccounted for money business. So those souls who were on that timeline, that shifted and shifted and shifted, and they just lost sight of the discipline that was needed for this timeline, okay? So let's say those timelines were outdated. They just dissolved because the karmic souls kind of moved on to jumped on to the next timeline, and those timelines just dissolved. So, but this time they thought that they had found the perfect timeline to hide out, but unfortunately, this is divine destiny, right? Temperance card, divine intervention, the wheel of fortune, divine destiny, that sort of a thing right here. Divine destiny for this timeline, okay? For this timeline, during divine destiny for this timeline, now there's a judgment call. There is going to be financial crimes that are going to come out, okay? And also, if you're thinking about it in the earthly plane perspective, so much has happened, and things that we used to be able to be okay with after the digital revolution, before the digital revolution, the things that we were okay with, right? Now we have the ability to analyze it and realize that that's not going to work anymore. It's damaging, it's hurtful, okay? Money is a very essential tool. It's an instrument of exchange, right? We cannot mess around with it. And these people did not get the circular, or they basically just ignored it. They turned their back to the circular, and they continued this financial activity, which is being found out as we speak, okay? Investigation is coming to a conclusion. It's going to be it's in Scorpio season, or it's going to be, that is okay, in Scorpio season, which is towards the end of October, starts from 21st of October, but then that's still the cusp till the 24th, right? In that span, by the end of October, it's going to be the last statements being submitted, right? It's found out. The financial crime has been found out, and the names have been put in, and the top names have been put in, as well as where the last fact end of it, the list of the name goes. All of that has been submitted, and it's crucial that it's submitted. That's why it's taken such a long time. Okay, so in Scorpio season, there's going to be a complete transformation. Now once you are arrested for any sort of crime, once you've been listed as a criminal, once somebody has been listed as a criminal, okay, I don't mean you, but if you're watching for as to how it's going to impact your life, and if you're one of these karmic souls, or if you got mixed up with these karmic souls, and then your name's up, right, it will change your life. If you're really, really, really extremely remotely involved, like, if they blackmailed you, but you're still somebody still becomes a criminal, trust me, you're still in the group of the souls who are going to benefit massively, because their influence, their corruption, right, their harmful activities when it comes to money are going to be completely blocked. Their entire activity is going to be completely blocked, right? Their ability to interact with the world is going to be completely taken away from them. It's going to be put to an end, a complete end. So literally you are, I don't know if this is a good example, but in the show Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, she's a stand-up comedian, and her father is a mathematician at university, and he's very, very tough. He's a very gentle soul. He's awesome, okay, but he's so strict, and he's not very nice to his students, because he wants them to be able to face the real world. For Abe Wiseman, the real world is filled with corruption, so he's trying to toughen his students up through mathematics. But it's like, when he leaves, right, he takes a sabbatical, he's no longer their professor, these PhD students, right, like getting a doctorate in mathematics, that's brave and that's courageous. But once he leaves, and once that sort of fear leaves the building, the students' skin start glowing, they start looking younger, they start looking, because Abe himself lightens up, okay? He releases the fear. He is released of the fear because he sees his daughter become such a strong woman, and he's inspired by it, by that, to let go, leave his fear behind. And that's why he's able to step away from his role as a teacher, and that has a effort on his students as well. One of the students that he used to pick on the most, he grows taller, he starts looking younger, his dark circles disappear. So even if you don't have a Abe Wiseman or anybody to attach this to, you're going to feel this. And trust me, you are lucky if you're a starseed who's everything is just happening in the background for them, and you were not a part of or you were not used and abused by any of these karmic souls. Somewhere at a very young age, when you were very young, they understood that they had lost the plot, okay? That's why they'd been observing you. They might have been sending a lot of people around you, okay? A lot of people around you. Look at the sunflower analogy, right? The sunflower and the sun. Like, the sunflower is always facing the sun. So they literally planted a lot of people to just keep observing you, observing your observation. So whatever you were looking at, they were looking at you, and in return looking at that. So when something is observed, you can change the object that is observed. It changes, okay? The wave particle duality, double slit experiment. Okay, so that is how they project onto you. That is how they project on They learn about you, and they learn about your energy, and that's how they copy it. And at the same time, they observe something and they can project it onto you or project it onto themselves. Okay, so we have an old telephone here, right? So let's say somebody projects energy, right? Somebody projects an image onto this and makes it look like something else. Let's say a vase, a flower pot. Sometimes you might have felt like, hey, I didn't know this was here. It looked like something else before. Like, let's say right now from the corner of my eyes, I'm thinking that I know that there's a phone there, but why is it looking like a speaker? Something of the same era, something of the same age that I have over here, right? They're two completely different shapes and forms. So this is what was happening with your divine counterpart in the last 3 years. There were a lot of people projecting a lot of energy. They might have projected some people's energy onto you as well. So that's why they might have gotten a little freaked out. They might have outright told lies about you and your background, etc. But all of that, whatever harm it has caused you, especially physically, is what I'm saying. Because mentally, all of Libra is air sign, right? And we're still in air sign season. We're still in air sign season, and we have the Six of Swords. Mental clearing is happening right now. Look at the Seven of Cups as well. Things going, confusion just leaving her mind and being sent across river Styx, right? You've even paid for it, like, spiritual, mental, physical, death, transformation, birth, death, rebirth, that cycle. All three aspects. The physical aspects, the transformation or the changes, they take time, okay? They take time. So the 3 years when, since the last 3 years, you're exchanging information and blasting away a lot of things. First, it might have started spiritually. It definitely started spiritually, right? The divine counterparts meeting, you knowing on a soul level that this is it. But then your mind, the ego, right? Karmic souls are basically that. They are just they are only ego. They do not have the ability to love. So these are very, very, very heavily ridden karmic souls. So they are all about that mental entity that they have made up. They think about themselves, right? So they do not have the capacity to interact with you beyond that mental image of themselves. They have lost it completely. There is no connection possible with the original soul that they were and the mental entity, right? You need to create a persona of yourself. You need to understand who you are, what your personality is in your mind, and it has to keep changing. It has to go through complete breakdown and then rebirth. It has to be recalibrated according to the soul's growth and soul's journeys. Now these souls just stopped growing. They stopped listening to their soul, and they started building this ego persona, right? And like I said, they left multiple timelines, and they found this timeline where they thought they could just relax and kick back, and everything would work in their favor. So they fed to their ego even more. So that was maybe sloth, right? So you having to process all of that out of your mind, because the karmic souls were that strong, so they really had an effect on you. The karma is that heavy, is that strong, so you had to get into the mind of the devil. You had, instead of the devil setting in, making space in your mind, like the idle mind is the devil's workshop. We were talking about sloth, right? One of the sins. Now you had to get into the mind of the devil, right? So that's a lot of not damage, the word damage that's come through, but you were investigating the damage that these souls had inflicted by getting into their psyche. It's like when Clarice goes to Hannibal Lecter to understand the criminal, the serial killer's mind, right? So you, in the last 14 years, you absorbed a lot of it. Sorry, 11 years you absorbed a lot of it, and in the last 3 years you you have been sort of healing that, clearing your mind, healing it. And the soul energy cleansing happened somewhat instantaneously when you all met. It might have, it's like that bubble love phase, right? Bubble love phase when you meet your soulmate, divine counterpart, twin flame. That bubble love phase that they talk about, it becomes like a cocoon of healing the soul, right? So however long that lasted for you, generally I think it lasts for about 6 to 8 months, not more than a year. Okay, so then it comes to the, when it comes to the mind, when the separation happens, that's when the counterparts, the twin flames, the soulmates, they go through the dark night of the soul, right? The dark night of the soul is that mental energy, entity that they had created previously now needs to be transformed. So that process is coming to an end of mental transformation. So when the mental transformation completes and finishes, right, that's when you are going to begin the physical transformation. This is definitely a very healing phase. Now, also because you have surrendered to the source of the one who's supposed to be judging these activities. Karma is also one name of the entity that judges a soul, judges a soul. Okay, so wow. Okay, so this message has officially ended. Thank you so much for being here and listening to all 3 parts. If you haven't, please go through part 1 and 2 as well, and I will see you in the next one.